Hey everybody, it's Randy Ray here at the Literate Texan, celebrating my return to the world of the living. This is a personal video. I'm not going to talk about books. I know that there's some people out there who've been concerned about me because I haven't made any videos in a couple of months, and I can explain that, and I'm going to explain that in this video. If you're not interested in such things, I understand. There's probably not much fun in listening to an old man talk about his health problems. I did post a few short videos while I was in and out of the hospital, where I explained briefly what was going on with me. But I'm happy to report that I am getting well again, and I'm feeling all right today, obviously, because I'm making a video. There's no guarantee that's going to continue. I always hoped that I was going to be one of those people who, when they recovered from an illness, just got incrementally better every day, just a little bit. And that has not been the case with me. I've turned out to be one of those people who have good days and bad days. So far, today is a good day. But, okay, so let's talk about what's been going on, if you're interested in still listening. Most of you already know that I have cancer. The type of cancer that I have is called multiple myeloma. It's a blood cancer that I'm getting chemo and treatment for, which causes my energy levels to vary throughout the month. One of the most significant effects of multiple myeloma is that, let's talk about multiple myeloma for a minute. It's a rare form of cancer, and basically what it means is that, your blood is made in your bone marrow, and your blood has three parts. It's got red cells, white cells, and plasma, which is the liquid that carries the other ones. So someone who has multiple myeloma, like myself, creates too much plasma, which means they don't get enough red blood cells and they don't have enough white blood cells. Side effects, or not side effects, but the effects, the little effects are you wind up with brittle bones. I'm like Mr. Glass. I could break bones very easily. But turns out there's medication for that too. They give it to people with osteoporosis, and I get that once a month. But I found out that I had multiple myeloma when one day my arm broke. I didn't break my arm. It just broke. And it was a weird thing. It was the humerus. It was the long bone there. So it was really strange. But anyway, they took me to the emergency room. It hurt like hell. This was about 2 years ago. But this is how we found out that I have multiple myeloma. And multiple myeloma, like a lot of different cancers, is more easily treated the earlier you catch it. So luckily, I'm relatively young, and so my numbers look good. Also, they've made great strides in terms of treating multiple myeloma. If I wound up with multiple myeloma in 2010, for example, the only treatment that I would have had available to me would be a bone marrow transplant, which would, not only is it a painful experience, but it's pretty drastic. It's like having an organ transplant. You have to take immunosuppressants to keep the new bone marrow. There's no guarantee that works, but they've come up with multiple new treatments since then. But they don't have a cure. This is a cancer I'll live with for the rest of my life, even if I go into remission. If I don't die of a heart attack or a stroke first. I had a really helpful endocrinologist explain that to me, that with my weight and sedentary lifestyle, it's going to happen. So I deal with that all the time, and that's not such a big deal. I've gotten used to it. I go to chemo twice a week, 2 weeks out of 3, and then I take a pill every day. I take one set of pills once a week that gives me a lot of energy on the first couple of days of the week, but leaves me exhausted the rest of the week. So, and that was not why I was in the hospital. The cancer was not why I was in the hospital this time. I also have something called lymphedema. And if you know anything, lymphedema, they're two separate words that they've put together. Your lymphatic system is fluids that don't have a pump. Your whole body's the pump. So when you walk around, the lymph moves through your lymph nodes. But I've gotten so big and had a freak karaoke accident. I'm not going to get into what happened at karaoke night that left me with lymphedema, and it damaged the lymphatic system in my legs so that the lymph doesn't flow as well. So I wind up with edema, which basically is a fancy word for swelling. And my right leg is probably twice as big around as my left leg. This is another condition with no cure, but it is treatable and manageable. And so I had managed it pretty well for a while. I'd gone to lymphedema treatment, which involved wrapping the leg and then eventually getting a garment once the leg had shrunk a certain amount. But I stopped treating it because I felt like I'd been cured, and the legs had gotten smaller. And gradually over the years, they've gotten bigger again. So, I wasn't hospitalized for lymphedema either. I mean, it's uncomfortable, but it's not the end of the world. The problem is that people who have lymphedema, who get a break in their skin in some way, and who doesn't get a scratch or something now and then on their legs, can lead to a condition called cellulitis. And this is what I was hospitalized for on February the 18th, was cellulitis. Cellulitis, anytime you hear itis, means that there's an infection. And in cellulitis, there's an infection deep within your skin. And it's a side effect of lymphedema and just getting a scratch or something like that. And for me, cellulitis becomes very dangerous, very painful, very quickly, because those bacteria that are causing that infection like to feast on that lymph. Because, it hasn't moved in a while. So when it doesn't move for a while, it gets stiff and forms proteins. It's like a buffet for those bacteria. So the leg turns bright red. It gets really painful. I thought that I had a blood clot in my leg. And I went in to get that checked out at the emergency room. And they said, no, you've got cellulitis. And they put me in the hospital. And of course, the treatment for that is almost always the same. I've gone through it many times. They give you antibiotics intravenously. And then they send you home on a course of oral antibiotics. The problem was that between the cancer meds and the oral antibiotics, my digestive system went so awry that I had so much diarrhea that I wound up really dehydrated and low in potassium. So I had to go back to the emergency room because I felt worse after finishing the 10-day course of antibiotics at home than I did when I started. And I was worried that I had C. diff, which is an infection of your bowels, but that happens often with people with severe diarrhea. But it turned out not to be C. diff. They were worried that I had congestive heart failure because I had fluid in my lungs, and I had all the other symptoms of congestive heart failure. But they ran an echocardiogram on me. Turns out my heart is really strong and pumps great, so I do not have congestive heart failure. Thank the Lord. That would be awful because, it's not a killer, but it's something else to have to manage, and I've got enough to manage. But I kept winding up in pain and having to go back repeatedly to the hospital for weakness and pain. And I spent most of the last couple months in the hospital lying in bed while my muscles continued to atrophy and my legs continued to hurt. And so finally, one of the doctors explained to me that not only do I have lymphedema, but I have venous stasis, which again isn't hard to figure out what that means. Venous probably has something to do with the veins, and stasis has to do with stuff that doesn't move. So basically in my lower legs, in addition to the lymphatic system not working correctly, I've got blood there that's not, it's not strictly speaking completely stasis, but or completely static. It does move. It just moves much more slowly, which causes more swelling and more pain. So anyway, looks like we finally got everything under control at the hospital. They've sent me home, and now I'm undergoing physical therapy to basically relearn how to walk because my muscles atrophied so much from being in a hospital bed that I'm only able to walk with a cane. And I'm pretty excited today because I graduated from walking with a cane throughout the house during my physical therapy to walking without a cane. She said, you don't seem like a fall risk as long as you're careful. Use your cane if you leave the house, which I don't leave the house much at all anymore. And anyway, I've learned some cool things about physical therapy too. One of their favorite techniques in physical therapy is to have you do stuff that you would normally do. So for me, one of my big exercises is sitting and standing, because I've gotten so weak and I'm such a big guy that I was having trouble standing up. Now I say I'm a big guy. I have lost 60 pounds over the last 2 months. So you can call that the silver lining of what's been going on or whatever. But yeah, so my physical therapy is sitting up and standing down. We've set some new goals for my physical therapy. One of those is to be able to walk around outside without a cane, and also to be able to get in and out of my truck comfortably. And we haven't talked about how we're going to do that, but my suspicion is that if we're going to do physical therapy to learn how to get in and out of my truck, I'm going to get in and out of my truck repeatedly, because that's what I do when I sit and stand. Is, they started me off by having me sit down and stand up 5 times in a row, and then I've increased that gradually to where I do that 3 times a day. And I sit and stand 10 times in a row, which is quite a quad workout for someone my size. And they have a number of other leg exercises that I do. But the main exercises that they have you do are the activities that you're aspiring towards. So physical therapy includes walking around the house. I walk laps around the house now. But my ultimate goal is to be as healthy as possible for as long as possible, because I've got daughters that I care about, and eventually I'll have grandkids that I care about. And I want to be around for them, and I want to be a healthy grandpa. So my ultimate goal is to be able to walk an hour a day, 7 days a week, as part of a baseline fitness program for myself. And I feel like that's possible, even though now I'm limited to about 2 minutes of walking at a time, 3 times a day. So that's way more than you probably wanted to know about why I haven't been making videos for BookTube. In fact, in the last couple of months, starting February 18th, I've only read 2 books. One of those was Terms of Endearment by Larry McMurtry, which I'm doing as a buddy read with Priscilla at the Evening Reader. I think that's her screen name is Evening Reader. I'll double check. And then I read The Real Cool Killers by Chester Himes as part of my Spring into Adventure reading list, which I'm going to make another video about soon because I'm a co-host and I haven't done a very good job of that. But like I say, hadn't been a lot of time for making videos when you're doing physical therapy 2-3 hours a day. So anyway, I'm back. Thank you to everyone who's written in with so much support for me. You guys have no idea how much it means to me that you've taken the time to wish me well. I even had one of my subscribers show up at my hospital room with a book as a gift, which was really cool. I was drifting into a morphine nap, and I noticed a man talking to the nurse who I didn't recognize. And I woke up and I said, "Hey," and it turned out to be one of my subscribers who lives here locally. And, looks like he and I are going to become good friends. So BookTube's a wonderful thing, and recovering from an illness is a wonderful thing. I'm learning a lot about patience, though, because it's taken me a little longer to get better than I'd hoped it would. But anyway, with any luck, I'll be back to reading regularly and posting videos regularly starting today. I'll see you in my next video. If you stayed for all of this, thank you so much. I hope it wasn't too boring listening to an old man talk about what ails him. Until next time, stay sexy, folks.